All right, we're starting. Thank you for everyone for being here today. The opportunity, what I'm going to speak about is, like I said earlier, is it's going to be about 10-year frame. So I'm going to speak to 0 and 10 year. Richard Stennis is going to speak to 10 to 20, but a lot of that same stuff is very interchangeable, right? The things that I may talk about may affect guys who are on the retirement, and things that he may talk about will obviously affect everybody as well. So Captain Chapman is also here. He will be speaking 20 years plus, retirement, fielding questions from guys, and really what the idea here today is bringing awareness to things. And the opportunity, me and Rich talked about this a while. I think Cap Chapman had a few beers, a few drinks, and we talked about this as well. And the idea behind this is to hopefully give the same insight that I think a lot of us were given from people that are now gone. You know, Chief Cavallari, Chief Gold, Stevens, Fuller, Walton, the captains that are now gone too, Captain Pettingell, guys like that who told you to save your time, to save your signification, to make sure that you have it when your family starts, but also making sure you're a good steward of it. So that's the idea of this, is financial freedom, or at least a financial understanding. So once again, I'll be talking 10 years. Disclaimer, please read this, and I will talk about this multiple times. The idea behind this is an awareness of finances. We are not financial advisors. We're giving advice and tips for multiple options, what has worked for us. Some of the things that we can talk about today, maybe we're not even doing. I don't have a 529 right now because I'm investing in my wife's future and her education. So I'm putting a little bit of money in other places. But there's things that are out there that we're not using in every avenue, but every avenue we're going to talk about hopefully today to you guys. Another thing I want to tell you guys is I want you guys to, and gals, is to challenge and validate what we say. So if I say something at break, if you feel it's incorrect, challenge it and we'll validate it and we'll talk about it. And do that for your whole entire career. When we talk about meeting with financial advisors, because we are just giving information out there, you need to make sure that you are challenging and validating what you're talking about with them. Because if you do that, you will actually make sure you're educating yourself, you're not buying into something, because ultimately financial advisors are selling you something. And that's not our goal today. We're not selling anything, we're just providing you information. So if you don't like what I have to say, we'll go off camera and we'll talk about it. All right. So the day you get hired is the day you plan for your retirement. All right, let me read that again. The day you get hired is the day you plan for your retirement. Captain Marty Nelson told me that. He was my dad and mom's neighbor. I knew him for all through high school, even when I was about to get hired at the fire department. And one of the things he kept telling me is the day you get hired is the day you plan for retirement. I was 18 years old, testing, going through the process, and this struck me as very important. And everyone I talked to on their way out was telling me, you need to put money into your 457, you need to have other options, you need to have your home paid off, you need to have a budget, you need to have all these things, because if you don't, when you get to that retirement, you're going to have maybe a percentage of loss. You're not going to make the same amount of money, or you're going to have a fixed income. You can't work overtime. So the day you get hired is the day you plan for retirement. If you keep this in mind, if you look at your avenues and options out there, you'll hopefully be prepared when you retire. Raul, Damien, thank you for being here today. What is retirement to you?
It's when I stop working for the fire department.
Okay. Captain Chapman, what's retirement to you? Sorry, sir, put you on the spot.
It's exactly like he said, but there's a lot more that goes into it. You have to start planning for your future once you retire. And we'll talk about some of that stuff, but it's waking up in the morning and not going to work.
It's different, right? It's completely different. And it's kind of a scary thing. How much time do you guys have on right now? You guys had a year yet? Right, not even a year. But you guys are in a class right now preparing for your future, setting your foundation. And then if you understand this, what is retirement? Retirement is supposed to be something you enjoy. It's supposed to be able to have all those options out there, but you're also supposed to be able to prepare for it and not worry about when the payment comes for your house or whatever the options out there, like insurance and all the things that go up in cost as you retire. You're not going to have the option to work overtime for other things. You want to be Chris Tane, you want to be out there shooting big albacore, be taking a picture of Chris. You want to be on the lake, you want to be fishing, you want to be on the beach. These are all options of retirement. I'm not saying you can't do this right now, but you want to continue the same lifestyle or be able to get there and see the world. Whether you want to watch baseball games, hockey games, or go watch the Denver Broncos win a Super Bowl, all those things are possible, but you need to make sure that if you're going to have those options and you don't want to be strapped for cash when you're retired, you need to prepare, you need to put money aside. How do we get there? How do we get there is, this is one of the best websites you guys can read and challenging it and just getting lost on this website. NevadaPERS.org. So on here, on the third tab down, it's publications. If you go to your publications, and you pull it down, your publications over here, you go to one over here, it's a little bit blurry, but I'll read it for you. It's Pre-Retirement Guide for Police and Fire. And what that is, it's all your, almost in a sense, your laws or the information available for you on what retirement is like, what percentages you get, the kickers, different things are explained to you, because ultimately, this is who's going to be paying you when you're out. Captain Chapman can speak more about that as well. This is a slide that Captain Chapman can speak also about, but we also need to understand. There's requirements on benefit multipliers. It says worked or purchased. And some of you guys who are in, you probably didn't realize, but you guys are at a different multiplier than other people in this room. You are at 2.5% each year. What that means is, in order for you to get 75%, the max, right here, of your gross income when you retire, so let's make it easy, it's $100,000. You make $100,000 when you retire. That's your gross amount of money you're going to make, right, before taxes. And you get 75% of it, you're going to get $75,000 in retirement. There's also something that Captain Jeff can speak about. It's a kicker. It's about 19%. For this math, to make it easy, it's 20. So if you take 75,000 plus your, times your 20,000, or times your 20%, gives you $15,000 on top of your $75,000. So you're going to be making $90,000 a year. Over 12 months, you're $7,500. So you're making $7,500 gross. That's going to be one check a month, right? Is that correct, Cap? So you get one check a month, but now you have insurance to pay for. Now you have other things. You're taxed at maybe a higher bracket because you don't have the dependents, you don't have the children. So those are things to think about. But also, for guys hired after January 1st, 2010, you were at 2.5%. So you are on that contract. So you have to do also different requirements for eligibility. You have to do, if you guys can look up there, it says 10 years and 60 years. So it's 5 years longer than guys hired prior. At 20 years for January 1st, 2010, on the old schedule, you're 20 years and 50. The new one is also, or the new one is still 20 and 50, but the big kicker right here is you have to do 30 in any age. So if you are, how old are you got hired?
20, sir.
You're 20 when you got hired. You have to do 30 years. Right? So you have to go to your 50. But another option you can have is you could buy years. So all those things are out there, but that's just an avenue. So it says you have to do 30 years in the age. Just it won't be 50 until then. Talking about building your foundation. So I put it into 4 easy steps. Hopefully we can talk about, our sentence is going to talk about more steps that are available. But the first step is budgeting. I'll get more specific on budgeting as well, but budgeting is a huge thing that I remember me and Brandon always talk about this. We go, we make the same amount of money, we make twice as much money now, but we still have the same amount of money as our bank accounts. It's like almost if you're making more money, but you're spending more money because you're used to the spending habit of having things. So creating a budget is very, very important. And if you have a budget that you're held to, then you'll make sure that you don't overspend and you put money away that needs to go in certain places. The next one is a 457. Deferred comp. There's companies out there, ICMA, ING, Nationwide. I'm not telling you who to invest with. I'm just telling you those are options that are out there. I believe our union still supports Nationwide. Is that correct? Yes. All right. Next one, savings accounts. Savings accounts are not investing returns. They are a safety blanket in case something happens to you. So you have money to take care of your family, or you have money to take care of needs, or if you get hurt, or if you lose your job, you can still take care of yourself for a few months. And at least 3 to 6 months is recommended. And let's speak to Roth IRAs and traditional IRAs as well. Budgeting. So, budgeting. Understanding a budget. Understanding a budget on base salary. Let me say that again. Understanding a budget on base salary. The reason that's important is because you do not want to rely on overtime and overextend yourself. We all know, we've all been there, even myself. I had my wife's Suburban, $600 a month I was paying for it. My truck, $400, so there's $1,000. I was in private school for my kids, it's $1,100, but we'll make it easy, $2,000 total. Just alone extra money that I had going out at once. I was working 700 to 1,000 hours overtime, and I made sure I was still putting money into my deferred comp, I was still putting money in my savings, but I was overextending myself. It was getting me away from my family. I realized that, that's when I think when me and Rich started talking is, you need to make sure you understand the best part about this job is you get 20 days off, and you need to be able to spend it with your family, you need to live on your base income, because it's extremely important. So understanding a budget on base salary. There's free apps out there for budgeting. If you can't read them up, I'll read it to you. Mint, Pocket Guard. You need a budget, every dollar, and just budget. Budgeting takes at least 3 or 4 months before you are comfortable using it, and when you're actually, actually held yourself to it. Dave Ramsey is a program that's out there too. He does more of the extreme budgeting, envelope systems, everything else. It's hard for me, I couldn't do it, but we can use the budget at my household. Mint.com, it's simple, just blank spreadsheets. Spend every dime on paper before the month begins. Allocate to bills. Add additional money always to your groceries. And I threw that in there. Include your spouses on the budget. That is a very important one to do, and it's the hardest one to do. But if you do that, then you have 2 people holding each other accountable and for something, right? Budgeting. Overtime. Do not rely on overtime to pay your monthly bills. Place 15% into investments on base salary. So you should be, in theory, be able to put 15% of your money away on base salary into your investments. Pay off debt by budgeting. Here's some options out there. Very Dave Ramsey. He says emergency fund is about 1 month. He says what you need to do is eliminate all your debts so you're not held to these monthly bills. I did differently. This is what I did for myself. I took all my money and my savings and everything, and I brought it down to about $4,000 to $5,000. And I started working overtime. Paid off my wife's car, paid off my truck. Actually, I sold my truck and bought a cheaper truck. I got my kids, we put them in public school because we moved, it was closer to us, and we liked the school. So we saved about $2,000, and then I started just eliminating all that money, and then started rolling into my investments into things that I knew I had to do. On top of that, now I have the other thing is my wife is in her master's program. And as Rich knows, master's programs are about what, $600 a credit? $600-$700
Yeah,
a credit?
it's around there. That's average. $600
You're going to be
credit.
paying probably $60,000 to $80,000 for my wife's education. But it's so much better because then she has everything to rely on from it. The same things for us. So eliminating debt, start at the smallest amount and continue to roll it forward. Obviously, if you have a higher interest, pay off the higher interest first. For example, a credit card versus a car loan, pay off the credit card first. Don't let that high interest build up. Deferred comp, 457. Do you get new guys? Do you guys know what 457 is? Have you guys heard of it? Okay, so it's right. It's all right because there's even guys on the floor who still don't even have a deferred comp and been on for 10+ years. But the idea is at least an awareness of what it is. So what it does is it lowers your taxable income. So I know you don't make $100,000 a year, but here's the idea: is if you make $100,000 a year and you can put the max in there, which is $18,000 a year, you now are taxed at $18,000 less. So what's that? $82,000, right? So you're now at $82,000 taxable income. If you're at a bracket to where you're jumping over and you're going to be taxed at 5 or 6% higher, you can put money in there, you can lower it down, and you can actually save money on not being taxed in that bracket. So that's another avenue of it. What it also does is defers taxes and it grows with interest. It can be used to purchase 5 years of service once you have 5 years in PERS. So the day you have 5 years in PERS is the cheapest time you can ever buy 5 years. And what you do is you take that money that's been growing with interest, avoiding taxes or deferring taxes, and you can buy it. I called just a couple months ago to see what it would be, and it's about $30,000 a year. Times that by 5, $150,000 I have to pay for 5 years. But where you're at in your career, where you're at later on, maybe you can't go to your 50, maybe you can't go to your 55 where you're going to have 20 years on. So it's an avenue for you to purchase years, and it's available for you out there. Good. Here's deferred comp. Understanding how compound interest grows. So on the 2 sides on the left, the amount that put into deferred comp is your annual addition. So right here, all right, here we go. Perfect. So $10,000. If you put $10,000 annually in for 30 years at 5%, you will have $697,000, roughly $700,000 in future value. If you did the same idea and you took $10,000 over 30 years and you stuffed it in coffee cans in your backyard or under your mattress, you'd have $300,000 in cash. Here's the problem with $300,000 in cash in 30 years. You have inflation. Inflation, 2 to 3%. You're obviously losing money on your money that you're storing, but you still have money set aside. The idea is you're supposed to use deferred comp is you put that money away, $10,000, 30 years, at 5%. You have $700,000 in future value in growth. Pick that same option. Same amount of money, 25 years, 5 years less, at 5%, you're going to have $500,000. So you're only actually putting in $50,000 more over 5 years, but because you did that, you will have $700,000. If you wait 5 years and you hold off and you don't put in your deferred comp, this is the money you have, about $500,000. So $200,000 difference. Let's say you waited 10 years to put in deferred comp, and I made it $20,000 just so we can have a very similar outcome. It's obviously only $18,000 right now, but there is the availability to do catch-up later on. We can talk about that. But $20,000 over 20 years at 5% is $700,000. So you got the same amount of money, but you had to put in additional $100,000 more to get to the same outcome, and that's compound interest. Time is important. Time is the most valuable thing. Here's a graph. A graph of compound interest. Put it out. It says put $1,000 compounding at 8% annually. So put $1,000 in the stock market. It starts off at 0, you're at 1,000. 10 years, you're at 25 or 2,100, and it grows. And you can see just exponentially it grows because it is adding on to itself. Same value right here. This was the one at 30 years, $10,000 at 5% return. Look at that. So it's going to start going up and go up even faster. So time is very important, and make sure that you need to put some money into it when you have the available money for it. Deferred comp, great website also, deferredcomp.nd.gov, talks about contributions and catch-up limits. Something that Captain Chaffin can speak to more about, Rich can speak to as well, but what you can do is you can put $18,000 away. But once you're over the age of 50, you can put catch-up, it's called 50 plus catch-up, contribution limits, and you can put in $24,000. Here's another thing too. On your last 3 years, you can play catch-up contributions, and you can put up to 36. When you start getting to that avenue, you need to sit down with somebody who understands this and can walk you through it and give you all the things, because our city also puts money toward deferred comp and things, but these are definitely avenues for you to do, put money away, to grow. If you guys need a quick break, we're about more than halfway done. There's only like 6 or 7 more slides. Good? All right, savings accounts. Savings accounts, this is a savings account, not investing returns. The idea behind a savings account is what majority financial advisors will say is you need at least 3 to 6 months of expenses. So on average, whatever your 3 to month expenses are, obviously if you're starting off new, you don't have a house, you don't have all the issues, or all the other additions with expenses from family or car payments, you need to figure it out. What's the bare minimum you can survive on each month? And then you should have at least that much money put away. 3 to 6 months, they say an average 10 to 20,000. That's $3,000 a month. So in order to get there, how do I get to $10,000 to $20,000? How do I do this? It's going to take forever. Well, one of the things is if you're thinking about working extra overtime, you can put $1,000 away for 1 year. You got $12,000 in your bank, and you already have at least your 3 months cash expense hopefully covered. Remember that this money is for emergencies or replacement being used. And the reason you want to do that is because, like my kids, they had medical bills that were about $4,000 that wouldn't cover it. That's a lot of money to come out of pocket. But I had money put aside, and my wife already allocated money, and we knew we took the money, we paid for it, because we didn't need a loan, then we replaced it as soon as we could. Another thing you can do for your savings accounts, rather than just having it in your savings account at your bank, you can do a high yield money market account. What this is it's similar to a savings account, and make sure it's FDIC approved. And what it is usually a low APY, it's about 1 to 2%. It used to be more, but it's the ability. It takes a little bit longer to get your money out. Usually, sometimes even 3 or 4 days with processing. But they're using your money and giving you a better return for it. IRAs and traditional IRAs. Traditional IRAs are very similar to a 457. Roth IRAs are, they do not lower your taxable income. So the limit is $5,500. There are limitations and brackets that prevent you from placing money into IRAs. Another thing you need to understand is this money grows, but you can't take it out until you're 59 and a half. So you can't touch it unless there's certain things. I believe it's a medical emergencies, school expenses, and there's a lot of categories in there. But once you get involved with the Roth IRA, another thing you need to do is you need to look for a financial planner and somebody who's going to understand and explain things to you and give you options that are out there. So these are the 4 steps. And once again, talking about them. Budget. You need a budget, and you need to be held to a budget. Emergency fund, eliminate debt. That's what I did. I had about $4,000 or $5,000 to start eliminating all my debt. The only thing I have now is my house, and I can put my 15% return in, and I can invest in my wife's education. My kids still can do whatever they want, and I'm not strapped to a $600, $700 truck payment anymore, and it's definitely a lot more freedom. Deferred compound interest. Remember, time is important. Savings account, 3 to 6 months of monthly expense, $10,000 to $20,000. Roth IRAs and traditional IRAs. This is an additional investments amount, and you need to find a financial planner. My last slide right here, and it says you either pay now or you pay later. Chris Alvarez always says this too. He says either play now or pay later, or you pay now and play later. It's what you want to do, right? As you get older, it's harder to work your overtime. Your kids are more, in different activities. You don't have the time. So if you invest right now with time on your side, then you will be able to sit back and relax a lot sooner because your money will grow for you. Pay cash versus credit. Save money for your vehicles, vacations, and your hobbies. I know it's hard to say, but if you put a budget to it, and you can still do all the fun things, and you can still have something you're held to. And that's a hard one to do for all of us, we know. Increase your 457 with each step raise. So what you do is a step raise is 5%. You place it right into your 457. So you'll be maxed out in no time without noticing a change in income. If you need the money, because you're budgeting, whatever it is, you can even just put 2% in. And if you work in overtime, it will place more money into it because it's at a percentage. So just something to think about when you come up to that step raise. If you want to put more money in your 457, you can give yourself a 2% raise and give your 457 a 3% raise. And you won't even realize this money is investing for you, and you won't even realize when you look back at it in 6 months, it's growing a lot. And have multiple eggs in your retirement eggs. Have homes, have land, have 457s, have IRAs, have bonds, have CDs, and most importantly, your education for a backup. Look at Chief Goble, retired, his education, and now he has a smoking job down the strip working in private industry while still collecting, and he had an avenue to go out. Look at Rich. Something happens to him, he has an avenue to be a nurse practitioner and still be able to take care of his family. So there's a lot of things that when we leave, we need to make sure, and Donnie, to go private sector.
What's the consensus or the thoughts on paying your mortgage off?
So this is what I feel. I think we absolutely should. I think I'm going to for sure. And the reason why is amortization, right? If you buy a home for $300,000, you're going to be paying probably close to $500,000 after it, right? Your first 10 years, you're primarily just paying interest. So if you're paying just primarily interest of something, you're actually, what people always do is they pay the first 10 years of interest, they barely lower their mortgage, their loan, and then what they do is they say, hey, come refi again at 4%. You get saved half a credit and your payment will lower down $50. Well, it's great, it absolutely is great, but if you're 10 years into it and you're starting to take away from principal, no longer interest, because you're past that amortization, then it's very important that you understand that when you get a new loan, you're going to start back over and you're going to be paying interest again. Unless you go to 15 that pays a little bit extra. But that's actually, I don't know, Cap Jab, I'm sure you wish your house would pay off, right?
Yeah.
There you go. I can tell you're not going to lose your house if it's paid off, but if you run into financial hardship later on, you're going to definitely wish you had that house paid off by making that $1,500 payment a month or $2,000 or
Yeah, but all your money is tied up. I mean,
well, depends. So, like, here's an example. If you put, for me, I looked at the other day. If I put I put $1,600 away every single month into savings. And what I would do, if I was to take that same money and I put it into my house, I'd have my house paid off, and from now, I'd have it paid off in 6 years. So, I'm going to eliminate all of that debt, and I'm going to save because I'm not paying interest anymore. So $1,500 a month into my mortgage would save me $100,000 in interest. You'd pay my house off in 6 years from now, and that's where I'd be. But it's also where you're at in your life and what money you have available.
Yeah.
I would say I'd say put money to your 457. That's what I did. I put money to 457, my Roth IRA, all these things. But if you have extra money available, maybe talk to your financial advisor, talk to somebody, look at it. But it's a very tough decision. It's a big pain. Yes, it is.
You mentioned Dave Ramsey. I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan. I recommend you guys, if you guys don't want to read his book, which is awesome, at least check out his Baby Steps.
Yes.
If you just look up Dave Ramsey Baby Steps, you read it, it takes 1 minute. He talks about what he thinks is important and why and what order to do it in. Like, you want to pay off debt first for these reasons. You want to build up, he has a low savings,
Yes.
a low emergency savings, which is $1,000. And then at some point you want to build up your 3-month savings. He mentions paying off your home, but that's step 6 in terms of importance for him.
Right.
So to knock out these other things first, including investing 15% of your base.
Dave Ramsey has it, I believe it's $1,000 in your savings, eliminate debt, have a savings account, 3 to 6 months, have also your college paying for your kids. The next one, I think, is he looking up right now?
I'm looking it up right now. His baby steps are $1,000 emergency fund, pay off all debt except for your house, then go to 3 to 6 months of expenses, invest 15% of your income, then it's college savings, then it's pay off your house,
They just build.
build wealth, and give.
Yes. So this PowerPoint, I kind of did the Dave Ramsey approach to this, but it didn't work for me. Envelopes don't work for me. $1,000 didn't work for me because I needed a little bit more money aside. But I did do very similar to that. I put money aside, started eliminating all my debt. Only thing I have left is my house and my wife's education. For now, right? Then something else comes up. But the idea is preparing. Even us being here right now and talking about this, you're so much further ahead. Even you guys are sitting here and talking about your 457, your FERCom. If you don't do it today, and you do it a week from now, or even a year from now, you're still ahead a majority of people. You go to a 10-year reunion in your high school, and you're going to sit around people and you realize half the people don't have a career, half the people have nothing, because they haven't prepared for it. So this job allows you to have so many things. It gives you retirement, it gives you information of so many people to pick from in here. And that's a huge thing too. So when you go back to your stations, you talk about this. You challenge and validate what we have for you guys today. And I think that's the most important thing. If we do that, then you'll understand where you are at. Because everyone's different. Everyone's financial decisions are completely different. And if that kind of answers your question, I
Yeah.
hope so. But I would really just look to somebody you can trust and go to a financial advisor. Go to pause it, we're good.
Okay.